Hey everybody, this is Tanner Invest here. Today is September the 7th. We're going to get into all the Ethereum digital asset treasury companies like BMNR and SBET, and a couple others. But really, the main priority of today's video is to go over a lot of the drama that's happened in the last week with the stock price being down about 15.55% for SBET. BMNR is down last week about 6.5%. And so we're going to go ahead and hop into a lot of that news, a lot of the fear, uncertainty, and doubt out there in the market, and why I am still going to hold. This isn't my first rodeo, guys. I've held stocks down further in the past, and they've rebounded. I'm still very bullish on these companies for a lot of great reason. And a lot of people out there are still in the boat that these are scams, and I just don't quite understand how that makes sense, since we've already seen successful digital asset treasury companies out there like MicroStrategy that exist and have existed for a long time and have outperformed the underlying asset. We've seen in the past things like ExxonMobil for many years have outperformed the market and was trading at a premium in comparison to their underlying asset, which of course was oil. And so these digital asset treasury companies out there, they are right now trading at a very low multiple on their net asset value for, in my opinion, not any great reason. And so there's a lot of FUD out there. And today we're going to get into that and why I'm still bullish. But sorry, guys, I've been MIA for the last week. There's a lot of news. I was in Scotland and it was a great vacation. I actually loved it. We went to Edinburgh for 3 days and we went to the Isle of Skye and hiked around. Went on, Big Mana Store, Old Mana Store. I don't know what. Old Mana Store, the Kerrang. We went to a couple other hikes as well as just exploring the regions of Scotland. So that was fantastic. Thanks for your patience, and people are sent me a couple wellness checks just because the way the market has performed over the past week. So let's go ahead and hop into my screen here. I'm going to share this screen here because we can just take a look at the price action. Over the past week, SBET is down another 15.5%. For the past month, down 23%. And of course, the last 3 months, we see from their pipe, we're still 67%. Now, guys, I'm down 35% of my position, down $7,500. But luckily, I only have a 4% portfolio diversity into SBET. And my portfolio actually in the past month is still tracking with the S&P, so I'm not worried. I do hold Nvidia, Robinhood, some others as well that have done pretty well. So I'm okay, guys. Don't need to do a wellness check. We're chilling here, and I'm still very bullish on all these companies. Now, SBET is trading at a lower MNAV now than BMNR, and we're going to get into all the details here soon. But BMNR is now trading at $41.55, down 6.5% last week. And I have added more to this position, and you guys know this isn't the full position. I still have some IRA as well. And so we are now at a $44 average. Now, you might be asking, Tanner, why did you buy in at these times? Well, when I bought in, we were trading, I think SBET was at a 1.1 or 1.2 MNAV, and BMNR was trading a little higher as well. But I didn't know that these would fall this low, of course. Otherwise, I wouldn't have bought at that time. But we know that MicroStrategy, throughout the years have traded as high as a 1.7 or higher MNAV. And right now they're at around a 1.45, 1.5, somewhere around there. But guys, not worried. And I think in this video, we're going to see why you shouldn't be either at this moment. But we can see that, guys, this isn't just happening with these digital asset treasuries. We have really solid companies like Duolingo that have traded down 50% the last 3 months. Duolingo is an incredible company with some of the most beautiful charts you'll ever see. Their margins are insane, and this company is growing like crazy. But they're getting hit just because of the scare of AI. And so this is a company I've also put some money into recently, and it's down. But that being said, I have also held through with companies like SoFi and Robinhood, where if we zoom out over the past 1 year, it's up massive gains, 250% on SoFi for the past year, in Robinhood 443%. So I'm up 35,000 on one position, 16,000 on another, where I had a conviction that a lot of people didn't agree with. Clearly, the market was hating on the stocks, and the same thing's going for SBET, BMNR. going to hold these positions. I'm not going to sell. And so I'm kind of used to this by now, guys. And I think you guys should be too. I don't think you should buy at a premium to MNAV and then when it goes under MNAV, sell because you're panicking. Because I think it's kind of crazy. A lot of people are worried that these are going to go to zero. That's absolutely not going to happen, guys. If you're a company that has a liquid asset like Ethereum on your balance sheet that you could literally, if you had to, you could sell that asset and literally buy back shares if you wanted to, then why should your stock go to zero? That makes no sense. So, all right, guys. So let's go ahead and hop into Sharplink Gaming first. I want to play this little clip here because it really resonated with me on how kind of and why he actually ended up coming out of retirement after being retired for only a month out of BlackRock and going right into Sharplink, and kind of why. So let's go ahead and hop into first.
I have spent time with Joe Lubin since earlier this year, got to know him personally. I've been a fan of technology change and really during the period of tokenizing BITL, got to understand Ethereum. We got to understand consensus being the most experienced and most commercial Ethereum company in the world. And I was pretty fascinated that this was the next mega trend.
So guys, this came naturally. He's really bullish on ETH, and he wanted to join Sharplink out of retirement only 1 month in. So he planned to take like a year-long break. Guy was from BlackRock, managing director, head of crypto strategy. So why not take a little bit longer time? But he had this opportunity in front of him, which was SBET. And so in this video, he also talks about some really interesting things. This section here, Ether as high octane money, is really fascinating to me. So basically what he's saying is Ether is high octane money, which means it correlates to its underlying assets. So Ethereum has underlying assets like stablecoins, tokenization of real world assets. We also have the high quality TVL that he talks about, which TVL is the total value locked, things like lending money, loans, all that within Ethereum chain as well. And so if you take a step back over the past 5 years, he said there's a clear view that every $2 of high quality liquid assets secured on Ethereum, there's $1 of appreciation in the market cap of ETH. And so if you take a look at things like this, guys, like the stablecoin supply and the adoption of stablecoins on Ethereum, we can see that there's a clear upward trend and that we are growing stablecoins massively. There's a huge shift. We have companies out there all across the board that are looking to get into stablecoins all on the Ethereum network. We have more. There's some stat that came out recently that in the past month, there's been more stablecoins created on Ethereum than there have been over the past 5 years on Solana. So take that into consideration, guys. Clearly, like Tom Lee, Joe Lubin, we've all talked about how Ethereum institutions are choosing Ethereum over Solana. And so I know that's one of the big worries out there is that potentially there's a lot of competition. But clearly, a chain that is the most decentralized and has the lowest amount of downtime, absolutely zero downtime, is Ethereum. And so I'm not saying anything, not knocking on Solana, but I think that when we see things like this, right now, guys, we have 275 billion in stablecoins, which we're projecting, according to Scott Bessent, that there will be $2 trillion in stablecoins here in the near future. We have 25 to 30 billion right now in real world assets, but there will be likely trillions of that in the future when we think of things like real estate, art, collectibles, things like that being tokenized on chain. And you have liquidity in DeFi, things like lending, borrowing, like we talked about, could be somewhere in the ballpark of they're estimating between 4 and 16 trillion. So now we know that the $2 to $1 comparison, where we talked about the appreciation of ETH, that might not happen over time. Like if we're looking at an increase in potentially $20 trillion on chain for ETH, we likely won't see maybe a 2 to 1 ratio, but even if you see like a 1 to 4 ratio, 1 to 3 ratio, you will see the price of ETH hopefully go up over time. This is something that we'll look at later. Tom Lee in his chairman message actually shared some information on this as well. And so very exciting stuff, guys. Ultimately, my point is with these chains, if you're bullish ETH, in the long run, you should definitely be bullish SBET and BMNR. You shouldn't be betting against them. I don't think they're going to go to zero unless ETH goes to zero, unless there's some sort of insane cyber attack on the chain or there's downtime, things like that. Those are real, threats to these plays, but I don't see that happening. So one more thing, guys. There was a huge amount of drama based on NASDAQ this week because NASDAQ, there was some media reports coming out that NASDAQ's plan to control cryptocurrency treasury companies. And down here, we can take a look where they're basically saying that they will be controlling when treasury companies can issue shares. So they're going to have to actually get they may be required to get shareholder approval before issuing new shares. That would be absolutely devastating to Sharplink Gaming because they are on NASDAQ. But Sharplink came out and mentioned that Sharplink is fully compliant with NASDAQ rules and does not require further shareholder approvals if we choose to execute our ATM program to fund ETH purchases. Our strategy remains unchanged, raise capital only when there's accretive for shareholders. Recent media reports have suggested that the DAT companies may need shareholder approval before issuing new shares to buy crypto. These reports may be referring to newer DATs, some of which may not be able to meet existing NASDAQ requirements and may be under heightened scrutiny. To be clear, this does not apply to Sharplink. Sharplink maintains a rigorous commitment to compliance and transparency, ensuring all transactions are conducted in accordance with NASDAQ rules and industry best practices. So this was Thursday, guys. So let's go back to SBET's price this week. We can see on the weekly, I think Thursday was, let me take a look. Thursday was the 4th. Yeah, so this is this big drop. I think it dropped about 8% in a single day from that news. So no bueno. If that were the case, that would be very, very bad for Sharplink because ATM funding is big and you shouldn't have to get shareholder approval to be able to tap the ATM. So that would be pretty devastating, guys. But to be clear, they've nipped it in the butt, said it doesn't apply to them. And BitMine came out and said, hey guys, whoa, why is our stock trading down? Because so was theirs on Thursday. But BitMine actually released that they are listed on the New York Stock Exchange. They're not on the NASDAQ exchange. Therefore, it doesn't apply to them at all. There's nothing that would apply to them because they're not even under the rules of NASDAQ. And so they came out with this entire press release statement as well, basically stating this as well. And BitMine is able to issue shares via its existing shelf registration without shareholder approval. So guys, this is massive. You cannot have a successful digital asset treasury company that isn't allowed to tap the ATM because that is a huge part of their strategy to raise money, when they're trading at a premium to their net asset value. And so I wanted to just go into some funny tweets here for a second because your tweets are just hilarious. Hate to be that guy. SBET gonna ATM hard just so they can match BMNR speed. BMNR holds 1.85 million Ethereum. SBET holds 837,000 Ethereum. Like, whenever has Sharplink come out and said they're in a race with BMNR? They're not. They literally are saying they're going to be the most strategic ETH DAT out there, and they're going to utilize the resources such as consensus and the fact that Joseph Lubin and their talented team from consensus that came over from Sharplink knows more about Ethereum than literally anybody out there because, freaking chairman or the chairman of SBET is Joseph Lubin, who founded was a co-founder of Ethereum, and they have a very alignment with consensus, Linea. We've already talked about all that. So we are getting a lot of FUD here that SBET is gonna ATM hard, even though they're under their MNAV. He actually had a couple other posts about this as well. And it's, no hate, but I believe SBET has created a death spiral. ATMs are dropping the price. Shorts are also dropping the price. Shareholders lost faith in the company and selling. Guys, if we're shaking out some people, that's totally fine. But Sharplink has had to actually respond to some of this criticism on X. And as we have highlighted in the past, we can confirm that we have never utilized the ATM while trading below NAV. It would, of course, be dilutive to do this on an ETH per share basis. We will continue to act in the best interest of our shareholders. Like, guys, a company should not have to go out on X and talk about this. And then there's guys like this guy who's also a big, he used to have a bunch of SBET and then he sold it. Paper hands saying, I would have preferred no ATM utilization when the MNAV was less than 2. Guys, that makes no sense at all. Like, what? If you're at a 1.5 MNAV, you're not going to tap the ATM when you could be buying an asset that you believe wholeheartedly is going to literally 5, 10, 20x. Joseph Lubin said he believes it can go higher than that. It can flip Bitcoin. Yeah, it's trading at $4,300 today. You don't think that they'll tap the ATM at 1.5 MNAV? That's just hilarious, guys. So let's talk about, Joe Chalom again, and let's listen to hear his thoughts on what he's going to do with shareholders, how they're going to act in the best interest.
But we're going to continue raising capital every moment that it's accretive for investors, and we're going to be less influenced by the price of ETH today and the price of ETH in a week from now. It is a long-term conviction, and I think when we look back a year or 2 years from now, we're going to actually thank ourselves, and our investors will be thankful that we were raising capital at these price levels.
So our investors will thank us in a year or 2 from now whenever we are buying at these price levels. That's my exact point, guys. We're not going to wait for the MNAV to mysteriously raise from a 0.85 all the way to a 2 to then tap the ATM to buy more ETH when we think the underlying asset is going to skyrocket in price over the next few years because of the mass adoption of stable coins, real world, I cannot say that word, real world assets, and total value locked, like we just talked about. So guys, I am still very bullish on this company. I think there are a lot of people that still are. I think there are a lot of people, though, that were just like, there's a lot of these crypto guys out there that are just looking for the next big thing, looking to double their money in 2 weeks. Like, this is not the way to do it, guys. This is a long-term play, long-term conviction. And that's what everyone's been saying. Yes, they're doing it at a high speed. They're acquiring a lot of ETH. That's because they want it for the long term. There's ways that they can generate yield beyond 3%, not just that, we've talked about the 3% for staking. There's ways that they can generate yield at a higher rate. Yes, it comes with a little bit of risk, but there's ways that they can use that ETH to create operating income, to buy back shares in the long run, purchase more ETH. And this is going to be a spinning wheel. It's basically a MicroStrategy with a yield. I mean, that is just super bullish. We can look at the price of MicroStrategy here in a bit, and what that looks like. But there's a couple other things I wanted to talk about as well. There are people out there that are making hilarious stuff like, we need you guys to step up, and he's tagging, Joe Chalom and Joseph Lubin and Sharplink Gaming. It's been a brutal 30 days. Please follow, share, and tag. We need them to see it. I said, what will tagging them do, guys? Joe Chalom just went on a hour and a half. I said 2 hour, rounded episode of Bankless literally 5 days ago. And then, other people that actually have a brain, like this guy, Max, who's also a mod in this ETH DAT community, said that Joseph Lubin owns a lot more shares than you do. So I think he knows what's going on with the stock price, and he doesn't need retail investors tagging him on X. Whenever he's probably in meetings all day talking to institutions. So, and trying to figure out ways to, use consensus and we've seen a lot of updates recently with Linea. So he's a busy guy, guys. I don't think we should be just spam tagging him on X because the price of SBET's down. Come on, that's just crazy. So, and I'm not trying to be hostile at all. I just want you guys, as my viewers, to take a step back and think about things before you go on X and just become like a crypto bro saying the most idiotic stuff out there. So that being said, guys, I wanted to share this as well. Sharplink had a great announcement. We've talked about since day one. Actually, you can go to my very first video. One of the first things I asked for was that a similar to MicroStrategy on their website, they actually have a dashboard, and Sharplink did just that. They actually created a ETH dashboard So now with right from their website, you can look at their key metrics like the price of ETH, their share price, the volume, market cap. You can look at their MNAV and their net asset value. So right now we are at a 0.84, which to me is absolutely crazy that we're at a $3 billion enterprise value with a ton more in our ETH holdings right here at 3.68 billion. So that's where we get that basic MNAV equation. I love this, guys. I've been actually saying that, I love the ETH concentration, but I want to know the MNAV as well. That's something we've been talking about as well. We just want there to be a standardization between the digital asset treasuries, so we're all talking about the same thing here. So they are still referring to their ETH concentration, guys. And as long as we keep seeing this number go up, that is going to be good for shareholders. That means it's accretive. We're making money over time. I think we need to make sure this number keeps going. So I'm loving the transparency. They've said since day one they're going to be the most transparent. And I think at this point, they are. I mean, BitMine doesn't have this right now. Yes, Tom Lee's doing his chairman's message, which I absolutely love, and we'll get into right now. I actually am proud of this slide here, guys, because we've talked about all of the, the standard things we've talked about: stable coins, real world assets, tokenization of real estate, credit, all these things. But also, I've talked about in a lot of my videos about how AI in the future will be using Ethereum and blockchain technology to be able to validate things like proof of humanity, agentic AI. I've literally been talking about this before I've ever heard Tom Lee talk about it, which I'm very happy about that. And so he actually talks about this in his new chairman's message, that this isn't even being priced in yet. The fact that AI eventually will be on chain in many different ways to validate a news report, validate if there's a terrorist attack. Did it really happen, or was it an AI video? Because that will be the future. That will happen. There's no doubt about it that will happen. And so in this video, I'm not going to play any clips from it, but I just want to go through the video because, man, he talks about a lot of amazing things. He is insanely bullish, more bullish than I think even I am, by far. He talks about the ETH to Bitcoin ratio and how right now we are the lowest in a long time. You can see here we're at a 0.04032, where the high was a 0.08727, and how he thinks over time that's going to go up. And if that's the case, his projections on Bitcoin end of year are 250,000. Yeah, guys, we only have a few months left for that. So about 4 months left by end of year. That would put the price, at today's ETH to Bitcoin ratio at this 11,000, which he highlights actually here. It's 11,965 number. And then the 2021 highs based on this higher multiple, we actually have ETH being at 21,000. So that would be absolutely insane. And then over time, he's saying that multiple should rise even higher than its all-time highs, and that we should see potentially even a higher price in ETH over time. Guys, we all know if ETH wins, we all win. SBET wins, BMNR wins, ETHZilla wins, ETH Machine wins. All these companies out there, all these digital asset treasury companies. And so other than that, a few other really interesting stuff in this as well. I highly recommend watching it. He does talk about MicroStrategy, which, it's funny because I highlighted in a previous video that there's people out there. How are you comparing BMNR or SBET to MicroStrategy? That's a terrible comparison. What? It's literally a digital asset treasury. How is that possible? So we can see that MicroStrategy has started at $13 in 2020 and now is $335. Since 2020 has had a magnificent gain, which the majority of the gain is actually due to the implied from the treasury strategy itself, not from the rise of the underlying asset. So the same should happen or more potentially with these ETH digital asset treasuries because they can produce a yield from staking. So that's just incredibly bullish. We've talked about that a lot, so I don't really want to keep going down that hole, but we can see that, there has been a massive ramp. This is over time. The amount of days since the start of the treasury versus the amount of holding of the underlying asset. We can see right now, BitMine is already at an $8.979 billion in Ethereum. And that took, it looks like over 2.5 years for MicroStrategy at the same point to have that much holdings in Bitcoin. So BMNR is going fast. Their goal is still ultimately to get 5% of all ETH out there. So, and stake it. Pretty cool. Now, I wanted to highlight strategy because if anyone's following strategy, fortunately, I haven't throughout the years. I haven't been a shareholder of strategy, but we can see that they have had a similar story where they, had a huge run up in the price early in 2020 and 2021, got up to over $100, fell. What do you think the X investors were thinking when they bought up here, and then the price all of a sudden is cut in half? They're probably going on X saying, "Guys, tag Michael Saylor. Tell him that we're unhappy." Come on, guys. Seriously? Okay, now what happens here? Obviously, this was a little bit of a crypto winner. We're down all the way down to $14 a share in 2022. And then we've seen what's happened since. So this is a long-term play, guys. If I'm down 35% on a position, that's only 4% of my portfolio. I promise you, I'm doing okay. I'm still very bullish on Ethereum in the future. I really do think it's going to be the future of the financial world. I think companies are adopting it at a massive rate, and that it's not going to go unnoticed. So I did want to highlight too, I know a lot of people don't care about Kathy Wood, but she has been buying a lot more Bitmine. She knows more than anybody. She's literally a friend of Tom Lee. She probably knows a good time to buy Bitmine. So she has now purchased on Friday quite a bit of shares now that they are trading slightly. I think they're at like a 1.08 MNAV as of Friday. And so that is that, guys. I hope this video wasn't super hostile. It's been 9 days. There's a ton of fear on the internet. And I wanted to help clear that up, at least for my viewers and my thought process on a lot of this fear. I don't think we should have a battle between SBET and BMNR. A lot of people like this guy are coming at SBET. No hate, but I'm going to put like 10 posts about why BMNR is way better and why SBET sucks. Like, guys, Tom Lee himself, even in his chairman's message, he showed a tweet of Joseph Lubin right here. Like, they're buddies. Look, they're pals. Like, he's literally in his chairman's message talks about Joe Lubin's thoughts on Ethereum. Like, we're not in a battle, guys. It's good competition, healthy competition, but also they're working together. They're spreading the word of Ethereum. They're getting institutions involved. So there's a lot of upside to these two companies forming, somewhat of an alliance together. So that being said, guys, I appreciate everybody. I'm sitting at like 2.85 thousand subscribers. Really thankful for all you guys out there. If you want to subscribe, I do plan on creating a lot more of this content in the future. So go ahead and give me a sub. That'd be awesome. Leave a comment. And then I guess I'll see you on the next one. Thank you, guys.